never had any problem with this thing.
Okay,
Well, at least
we are here, so what, yeah, and see you. So why don't we get this party started? Welcome to the continued meeting from February 15th of the City Council of the City of San Juan Bautista, Tuesday, March 8th at 6:01. Welcome all. This meeting will be conducted pursuant to the provisions of the Governor's Executive Order N-2920 in order to minimize the spread of the COVID-19 virus. The City Council is conducting this meeting by Zoom conference and will be offering alternative options for public participation. You are encouraged to watch the meeting live on Zoom or Facebook. Please follow the Governor's shelter-in-place order and the CDC guidelines regarding preventative measures and do your part to flatten the curve and prevent further spread of COVID-19. Pledge of Allegiance, Vice Mayor Flores, if you would please.
I pledge. Everybody ready here?
The flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. May I have a roll call, please?
I wanted to quickly introduce.
I would, yeah. Yvonne, welcome.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
So
Don.
Yvonne Spence was appointed as Fresno City Clerk in January 2012, and she retired from the City of Fresno in June 2021. Prior to relocating to Fresno, she was the Deputy City Clerk of the City of Austin, Texas for 10 years. As City Clerk, Yvonne assists City Council candidates in meeting their legal responsibilities before, during, and after an election. She provides access to city records and acts as this key staff for council meetings. And the clerk prepares the legislative agenda, verifies legal notices have been posted or published, and completes the necessary arrangements to ensure an effective meeting. The clerk is entrusted with the responsibility of recording the decisions which constitute the building blocks of our representative government and ensures transparency to the public. Yvonne holds a bachelor's degree in business administration from Texas A&M University. She's also a master in municipal clerk, MMC, and certified records manager. Welcome, Yvonne. We are so glad to have you tonight.
Welcome, 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 Yvonne. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
If we may have a roll call, please.
Sure thing. Mayor Jordan,
Present.
Vice Mayor Flores,
Present.
Councilmember Edge,
Here.
Councilmember Fields,
Here.
Councilmember Freeman.
Here.
Okay.
All right, off to a good start.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Public comment. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons desiring to address the council on matters not on the agenda. The law does not permit the council action or extended discussion on any item not on the agenda except under special circumstances. If council action is requested, the council may place this matter on a future agenda. Do we have any public comment?
Yes, Mayor Jackie Morris Lopez would like to make a comment.
Okay, Jackie, welcome. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mayor Jordan, and I just want to say welcome to Ms. Spence. I look forward to working with you and welcome to our city. And I hope you're with us for many years. And happy International Women's Day to all the women on the council and staff. So thank you. I just wanted to mention that since we are under the state mandate to grow and in our cities, which is a double-edged sword with a lot of cities of all sizes, we're all aware of what happened, I believe, north of San Francisco about one city, I don't recall the name, that was trying to state that they were a mountain lion habitat, so they wouldn't have to build ADUs. So with the state and local lead agencies, with the pressure to provide more housing, I really think as our small city, we also are under the same pressure. We really need to take a hard look at our ordinance that addresses mixed use zoning in the city. And when I refer to mixed use zoning, I'm talking about zones that are both residential and also allowing mixed use of perhaps businesses, or business is to me a very general term. And why I think we need to look at these zones more closely. They were written years ago when times were different and constraints were different. We had more, I think infrastructure was working for us, and parking was working for us. So I really think that we need to look at that as a city once again. There's overcrowding of parking. We also need to have some oversight of the businesses that we have permitted to go into these mixed use zoning to see if they are up to par with what they pulled their permit or licenses for. Because once again, we are sharing with residential areas. So I'd really like the city council to really take a look at these ordinance before we start or amending or allowing more businesses to coexist in our residential areas, and more oversight is needed, I believe. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have any other public comment?
Yvonne is muted.
Not having seen any more hands, we'll move on to the consent agenda.
There's Yvonne.
Yeah.
Pardon me, Mayor, for just a second. Yvonne,
Sorry, go
Yvonne will help us manage the raised hands in the attendees, and she'll
Yes.
also help us manage the 3-minute time limit for speaking. Okay, just wanted to clarify. Thank you, Yvonne.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect, thank you very much. Consent agenda, all matters listed under the consent agenda may be enacted by one motion authorizing actions indicated for those items so designated. There will be no separate discussion on these items unless requested by a member of the city council, a staff member, or a citizen. Does anybody want to pull anything on the consent agenda?
No.
Hang on, I'm looking real quick for I didn't get
It's approving the affidavit of posting the notice of adjournment and approve the affidavit of posting the agenda.
okay, thank you. I have nothing. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Freeman?
No comment.
Thank you. Do we have any public comment? Does anybody from the public wish to pull a consent agenda item?
I don't see any hands raised.
Thank you very much. May I have a vote, please?
I'd like to make the motion
Thank
that
you
we
very much.
accept the consent agenda.
I
Thank you very
second it.
much. Thank you.
Who was the first and second? Everyone's-
Mary and Cesar. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Sure. Mayor Jordan,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Flores,
Yeah,
Councilmember Edge,
Yes.
Councilmember Frills,
Yes.
and Councilmember Freeman.
Yes.
5-0.
Thank you very much. Discussion items. And this is a carryover from last month's meeting. It was item 7 on last month's agenda, I believe.
Yes. Yes, Mayor. Item
Yes.
7A,
Okay,
7B, and 7C have carried over from our February 15th meeting. And this is a report on our strategic plan. Every February now for 3 years, we've talked about, we developed a strategic plan with a facilitator originally, and then modified it last year, and I'm bringing it forward again this year. I think after our election in November, we would invite a facilitator to come help the council and work in the library in a town hall meeting setting, assuming we can meet in public and facilitate a new strategic plan. So this is our third and final year with this one. The new one may be very similar to it. We also have the chief here who has slides for his annual report to share as part of the strategic plan. He spoke a little bit on this at our February meeting, but he can run through all of his slides for us tonight. That would be great. And then, of course, I have a few slides and some recommended updates and changes. And we have two items from the public on this matter that we'll wait till after the presentations and go through it then. The sheriff did not have an annual report to share. I didn't invite them. They did come and speak at our last meeting. But I can update the city council on some of what I've learned from the sheriff, especially recently, because some positive things are happening on our behalf. So I'll just give a brief update on the sheriff. And if you like, we can invite them to our next discussion of this matter. So with that, I would like to share my screen, pardon me, and just go through a few slides and review so that everybody knows. I'm glad that people are able to sign in because we have a new ID in my screen. There we go. Okay. So we got through that. So our strategic plan from 2020 has 5 focus areas. And one is to nurture partnerships within our community and create and promote partnerships within our community. And that kind of overlaps the other 4 focus areas, because I think all the work we do, we're a small city and we need our partners and we need good, strong relations. And so we all do that. The council, the commissioners, we all do that, create and promote partnerships, but we'll review some active ones, and I've consolidated a few of them, and we have a suggested new partner perhaps from the public. Secondly is to preserve and protect and promote our community assets and economic vitality, kind of an economic development theme, while maintaining historical and cultural charm. Remember the survey I did in 2020, we got about 150 responses, and I believe 73% wanted our city to stay small and preserve its cultural and historic nature. So that's the one thing that people say to us all the time when we're out in other cities and talking to friends. We love your little town. So it's our job. It's our job to keep that little town as it is. Third is all about infrastructure, investing in maintaining and strengthening our infrastructure. We're making a lot of progress on our weakest links, our water and wastewater systems. And I look forward to them being under construction by this summer, at least the wastewater improvements. Promote public amenities. Public amenities such as the Luck Park and the library and the master plan we did there, Abbey Park and the use of the baseball fields, and then our shared amenities that we're working on now. At mid-year, we developed a solid partnership with the school district and have a plan to help share the school amenities with the rest of our community. That's an example. And then of course, 5, quality of life. And the quality of life is about enforcing our ordinances. So this is how we enhanced it in 2021. The quality of life became, instead of just 3 words, we delved down a little bit into more detail. We did establish a public safety subcommittee. We've met 6 or 7 times now. We have had the sheriff come more than once in the fire department. We talked to our private security contractor and most recently with code enforcement. We've learned, for example, that we weren't sharing our private security status reports with the sheriff. So we're doing that now. So that's an example of how we're improving communication between our contract services that we rely on. And of course, we have the fire department here today and the most recently executed contract and lease for the facility. And we'll let the fire chief go into more detail on his status and the work they're doing related to their contract. The closer communications and closer relationships has really occurred, through the COVID state of emergency. For example, the city of San Juan Bautista was represented at the State Office of Emergency Services and the County Office of Emergency Services, just bringing all the partners together in that format that I see that the emergency response format helps to build closer communications, and those communications continue. We'll touch on that a little bit as well. And then fourth, to nurture diversity and remove inequities and celebrate the strength in our community that comes from a strong and diverse community. I'm trying to focus more effort in that regard. The League of California Cities has done a lot of work on this topic, and it is a theme in every city I talk to. So I do get a lot of feedback from the 18 cities that are part of the Monterey Bay Area Management Group. I'm the president of that group. That's just an example of how we can learn from each other and apply some of the techniques along these lines. One thing we did recently in this regard is we simplified our maintenance worker job description. We removed barriers to employment by treating special certifications and training as incentives rather than requirements. And what this does is it opens it up to a more diverse community. So when we recruit, we get a bigger pool of recruitment, but we also remove barriers so that more people can apply. So that's an example of some of the things that we're doing, just as we work to improve our city. At this time, I can bring up the fire chief's slideshow, or chief, I can share the screen with you. Which is easier? Would you like me to turn the slides for you?
Yeah, please, if you don't mind, I'd really appreciate that.
Here, let me bring it up. I'm sorry, I didn't have it up. Okay. Yeah, I want to go to here. Okay. Sorry, they put a new Exchange server on my laptop and it's not very good.
As the city manager goes through looking for the slides, I'll give you a quick rundown on the fire department annual report for most of you who are familiar with it, with the contract between the city of Hollister and the city of San Bautista. It's a unique configuration where a city department provides fire protection to the county and to adjacent city municipalities and communities. So me doing some research and asking other fire chiefs, I've never found anything in the state of California that's quite like this. Usually it's a fire district or it's the county providing fire service to local smaller jurisdictions. So that said, it's quite a challenge, especially when the area of responsibility as far back as 6-7 years ago was that of 9 square area miles in the city limits of Hollister. And now that we've got the contract, we're looking at 1,400 square area miles and a variety of calls, as opposed to just your basic structure fires and our occasional wildland fires. Now we have huge agricultural community. We have the airport. We have hazmat. We have structures. We have industrial parks, and it's been somewhat of an endeavor. And with the support that we've been getting from the elected officials, the guidance that we've been getting in the military, we used to call it our commander's intent. So whenever the boss would say, "Hey, this is what I need," and he'd point in the direction that we would go, we would make it happen. A lot of times he really didn't care how it happened, and that would get us young guys in trouble, but we would make it happen. So that just gives you a little breakdown on the fire contract and how we're going to put this together. I have about maybe 17, 18 slides, and in the annual report, what you'll experience is statistics, how many calls we go on a year, in what districts, trends that we're noticing. What you're going to see also is training, the mission statement, a few other things, and then the way ahead. And the way ahead, I believe, will tie in perfectly with our general strategic plan. So we can go ahead and head off. Have you found it, Don, yet, or?
I'm gonna have to go to Adobe. And I'm sorry, but it's very slow. I've almost got it. I'm just gonna go to the meeting packet and I'll pull it up in Adobe.
Okay.
In the meantime, Councilmember Edge, you have your hand up. Please unmute yourself.
Sorry, I was just gonna say that I have this, the slide that our chief is trying to give us. I don't know if anybody else has those slides. We could go through that rather than trying to wait and see if we can get the monitor to work.
Is that the slides that were in the packet?
Yes, it is.
Okay,
Yes.
I think I have that. Let's see if I can share my screen.
That would be great.
I'll try it.
That made you co-host. You might have to rotate them 90 degrees.
Mhm.
Is that it?
It's
I don't
coming
see
up.
anything. Yes,
Yes.
that's it.
Thank you.
That's it.
Okay, so
Right.
I'll move these up.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. And
Sure.
hey, and welcome aboard. We appreciate
Yeah,
your expertise on this.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay, Don, now you know who you need to give the slides to.
Right, right.
We're working on it.
And me being a kid born and raised in Silicon Valley, I wouldn't be able to pull that off. Okay, so. All right, so what you have here, Fire Station 1, and it states the mission statement. Of course, as all mission statements go, this one particularly involves the county and San Juan Bautista. And we're here to provide the best service that we possibly can. So go ahead, next slide.
Okay. Okay,
That's
that's the table of contents right
Our
here.
table of contents. Yeah, there's this happy guy.
Whoops, there we go.
There
Sorry
you
about
go.
that.
Not a problem. Table of contents, and if you can see in the lower right-hand corner, that was that double structure fire that the city of Hollister had experienced in 2020, and that was an arson that was set. Every resource that we had available in the county was pulled into these two structure fires, and it devastated our, really our only Chinese food restaurant, just like you guys lost yours in 2013. Along with that, because we have a robust auto aid agreement and mutual aid agreements, we were able to call in resources from as far south as Salinas and as far north as Gilroy. So and Watsonville, as a matter of fact. So we had around 15 apparatus and a total of maybe 35 firefighters, all in our jurisdiction, helping us fight those two major structure fires, helping us run multiple medical aids, and that individual that caused the arson also set vehicles on fire to divert us from going to those structure fires. We went straight to the vehicle fires while those structure fires were going ablaze. And if it wasn't for the mutual aid agreements that we called on, we probably would have been struggling a lot longer, and probably have not put a good stop on the residents or the buildings that we stopped in the time that we did stop. And in turn, just because we did ask for support, we were asked also to support the memorial services for the young officer that perished in a fatal shooting for tomorrow's events in Salinas. So it's a reciprocal. Sometimes it's not reciprocal, but the whole gist of it is the whole master mutual aid program. Okay, next slide. So this is just a message from me. What this outlines is, and I don't want to insult anybody's intelligence by reading the slide to you, but what it entails is that you know, this report's going to give you a breakdown of calls, you know, the statistics, some of the events that occurred over the last year during 2021 with the multitude of challenges to include the pandemic, and how we were still able to provide a continuity of service, even though we had strike teams that we were going out on in different jurisdictions up and down the state. We had people, some of our staff members who got COVID and had to deal with that, and also providing service as we were dealing with our current situation with strike teams, with the fires, with the regular calls, and having to put people on the bench to deal with COVID. And also it provides some impact on the way ahead and some of the goals that we've accomplished. Next slide. So as an introduction, just a brief breakdown of what I had spoke about prior to the slides coming up. Unique situation, City of Hollister provides fire protection for the entire county, 1,400 square area miles. It was a transition. Years ago, when I started off as a firefighter in the City of Hollister, we had one firehouse and one engine, and went over to Watsonville, you know, 7, 8, 9 years later, come back as the chief, and we have an entire county in our area of responsibility. We have 4 fire stations, 41 firefighters. When shoot, that was almost the whole population of our entire city when I was working there, and now we've got a greater responsibility, and these guys have stepped up to the challenge and have taken it with great vigor. You'll see that we've had 4,039 calls. We've promoted firefighters. We've been able to establish our own state certified in-house fire academy, and we're meeting the demand of calls for service. Next slide.
Oops.
All right, so we're going into the statistics right now. As you can see, District 1 is the yellow highlighted area in the map on the lower left-hand corner. The yellow area is the downtown area of Hollister, and as you can see, there was 1,884 calls. Most of those calls were emergency medical services, as is usually the case in the fire service. You have 1,156 calls of emergency services, and the other calls are various types of calls that make up the 1,884. Next slide. Okay, District 2, that's the area in and around, what's a good landmark? Ridgemark, I'd say. Ridgemark, the lower part of Greyhawk Homes off of Union Road, Airline Highway, in and around Fairview, John Smith Landfill. You have a total of 1,519 calls. And again, the greater majority of those calls are medical aids, weighing in at 988 calls. That's the blue district out there. And then you're going to see, next slide, District 2's east area, which is your Pinnacles National Park, Balado Park, all the way out to the 2 different counties that bump up against our southeast end, and Monterey, and is it Merced County? Merced? Yeah. And all the areas alike. Total of 20 calls. Now, with those 20 calls, you could tell that there's a less dense population and a higher volume of land out in that area. And a lot of those calls are attributed to vehicle accidents. As you can see, there was a couple of fires. Chief Badola, when he became the fire marshal, in his first year, had to deal with his first fatality fire out there, and he did a great job. It's just a variety of what you'll see with the 20 calls. Next slide.
Hey,
District
Bob, can
3.
I ask you real quick, what is a good intent call?
A good intent call? Okay, so that would be something like, say, that would be like, say an elderly person fell out of their bed. They were able to get to their phone, but they can't get back into their bed. And this is something that, a service that we perform almost on a regular basis. Also, it could be anything like your water line has busted in your house. We'll go to the street and shut the water off. You have a water department that can do that, but we're a lot faster than them, okay? Or your smoke detector, your carbon monoxide detector is going off. We will go there and take care of that for you also. Does that answer the question there, council member?
Sure did. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, sir. District 3, you can see we've got 338 calls. That's around the Hollister Airport area. That provides quite a bit of service to the south end of Santa Clara. We do a lot of auto aid and mutual aid responses, and in turn, they do a lot of auto aid and mutual aid responses for us as well. As you can see, most of those calls, again, are rescue and emergency service calls. Next slide. District 4, this is you guys. City of San Juan Bautista and the surrounding area. The unique thing about this is you've got Highway 101 going straight through your backyard. A lot of vehicle accidents out there. We have a total of 277 calls. You guys are colored in green. Now, if you look at the lighter shade of green, which looks like yellow to me, that's your 5-minute response area. The lighter color is your 7 to 8 minute response area, and the darker color represents your 10-minute response area. You're going to see in future slides that gap. If you look at the screen, look at that gap between the dark yellow and the dark green. There's empty white space. Right there is our target for putting our Fire Station 5, District 5, where San Juan Oaks golf course is. There's a piece of property that's been committed to us by the Millennial Group that's going to build out the residential units out there. Now, mind you, the residential units in that area are going to be 55 and older, and there's going to be an assisted living facility out there, all within the sphere of influence of the cities of San Juan Bautista and Hollister. So that's an at-risk community. And I say so because being 58 years old and being considered a senior citizen, we are taking great consideration as to what's involved in an area like that. And if you don't have fire safety and emergency medical response out there, it could be a long time before resources hit there. When we do put the fire station there, you're going to have an ambulance company there, you're going to have an engine company, and a sheriff's substation. So it's going to be all disciplines encompassed in that area to provide support throughout. So District 4, you've got 277 calls, 160 of them are medical aids, and a lot of them, believe it or not, are vehicle accidents off of 101 and 156. So we've jumped up in vehicle accident call volume, and that kind of displays, with the pie chart, the ratio of all the calls combined together. But next slide, please. So this is just a rundown of all the districts, a population of 64,000. What you see on the top right-hand corner are required facilities that must get fire inspected on an annual basis. Now, this is due to State Bill 1205, which was basically generated from Oakland City's ghost ship fire catastrophe. The state says this is not going to happen again, and you fire authorities that have hotels, apartments, condominiums, jails, and institutions of great volume, you will be required to do fire life safety inspections on them so we can avoid this from ever happening again. In our county, we have 436. Chief Bedolla is one man in the fire bureau and does all of those inspections. Every once in a while, lucky or not, a firefighter will say, you know, twist an ankle or throw their back out, and we'll have to have modified duty. Well, guess what? Chief Bedolla has one more set of legs to go out there and do fire inspections, and they've been tackling this pretty consistently, and it's ongoing. We're talking about anywhere between 7 to 12 call inspections a day, to include new construction. And there's a lot of new construction going up in the county and in both cities. As you can see on the lower right hand corner, that's almost that is more than half of the total incidents in rescue and emergency medical calls, 2,511 calls. So long ago has gone the way of firefighters just fighting fire. These gents and ladies have to not only know how to do vehicle extrication with tools, jaws of life, fight in structure fires, fight wildland fires, fight in aircraft fires, which are all different in their own respect. They all have to be versed in emergency medical care to provide adequate support so that patient can get transported for more definitive training or definitive treatment. Next slide. Some of the accomplishments that we've had over the past year, over the past 12 months, is we're still maintaining our outreach. We provide bilingual CPR and first aid training. Safe Kids Coalition consists of the Buckle Up Baby program, installing car seats for parents who, you know, either are new parents or need support in doing it. Those, believe it or not, being a grandparent and having 4 grandchildren and 4 kids myself, I still need help. Those car seats are getting more difficult, or I'm losing it. I don't know what it is, but it's a great support. Fleet management, to the gentleman you see in that picture is a battalion chief, Rod Dover. He's our logistical genius, and he's the guy that specs out our fire engines, our brush rigs, our water tenders, and we're putting in a request for proposal to purchase an elevated stream, which is a fire truck. Fire truck is much different than a fire engine. It has an elevated stream of 110 feet, so we can get up to the 2nd floor, perform rescues, or drop water down on a multi-level building. And then 2, we participate in the Office of Emergency Services. So you'll see the OES moniker right there on the right in the middle of your page. That's a Type 6 piece of equipment that we recently received from the state. So whenever the state says, hey, Hollister, we need 4 firefighters and a brush rig, they provided us the brush rig. I provide the staffing, and they go to work for, you know, anywhere between 7 to 21 days. So you, for example, the strike team that you see on your lower right-hand corner, that was 4 of our firefighters at the Dixie fire. They were deployed 5 times to that fire. That's a campaign fire. And it lasted, if I'm not mistaken, 45 days. Our guys were out there for at least 21 days of those 45 days. And we try to rotate them out so they don't get fatigued and injuries start to happen. And then also we try to keep up with certain databases and technology. And that's what the battalion chief had put down there with particular phone apps. So instead of having to carry around pagers or radios, we could do everything with our smartphone. The rest of Silicon Valley is doing it. Why not us, right? Next slide. Okay, training. That's your training chief right there, Battalion Chief Phil Rossi. He's going to hate me saying this, but he's the Rossi of BNR Farms and the apricot, heir to the magnet and throne of enterprise of dried apricots. But he chose to be a firefighter, and he's doing an excellent job as our training chief. Those are the staffing hours or the training hours that we put together. The training tower that you see on the right hand corner is because of him. That was a $600,000 endeavor. He obtained and secured a grant from the Monterey Peninsula Foundation. They received their money from the Pro-Am golf course, and he was able to justify why we needed a training tower, and he secured those funds. Kudos goes out to him. Great job. He competed with about 75 other different agencies, and he got it and brought it into this community. Next slide. Fire prevention. Here's Chief Bedola. He's the other firefighter on the line, and his assistant Alicia Corpus. If you look at that Excel spreadsheet in the bottom, that is the amount of calls that he did, inspections that he did last year. 1757 inspections, and that's we're talking about at least an hour inspection. So you can imagine how many of those staffing hours he's out on the road, walking on pavement or areas of no pavement, and going to work, making our community safe. On top of that, he is the lead coordinator, the lead fire investigator for an arson task force that's comprised of our local public safety departments, Hollister Fire, Hollister Police Department, and San Benito County Sheriff's Office. And not only that, he's drawn people in from Santa Clara County, Monterey County, and Santa Cruz County to assist with fatality fires, with arsons, and he's even pulled people in from private industry, arson investigators that work for insurance companies, and used their expertise to solve cases. And he solved, his task force has solved a lot of cases. In the last 2 years, they've solved as many as 5 arson cases. Next slide, please. So, because we're an organization for service, and we don't really generate funds, we feel it's our responsibility as a fire department to get out there and seek opportunities for funding. So our main goal and our contractual obligation is, if FEMA has money out to provide for public safety, we're going to ask for it. And if we ask for it and our justification is valid, they will grant us the funding. So for 2 years, or for 2 terms, we were able to have as much as 6 years worth of FEMA funding to staff salaries for safer grant firefighters. That's a pretty significant sum of money, and that's a pretty significant weight that we can pull off of the shoulders of the city of Hollister and San Juan Bautista and the county of San Benito. Over $5 million in salaries was what we were able to pull. So if you see there, we've got the fire contract, which is a 2.2 million, fire impact fees, which draws about 272 million. The Safer Grant was as much as 514,000 last year because it was coming to its end. Strike teams, when I talk about us helping out the state with fighting campaign fires, that's the money that was returned to us by us providing support to the state and other jurisdictions. That's what the state reimburses us for, $308,000. And like I said, 1,700 hours Chief Bedola puts on his feet doing fire inspections. Each of those calls, each of those inspections have a certain cost recovery fee attached to it. Last year, him full-time and in 1/4 time, a fire captain helped him out. He was able to, I hate to say the word generate, but he was able to recover fees of $520,000 with a total of $3,875,000. That's 1/3 of the Hollister Fire Department's budget. Next slide. And there's the admin staff. This is just a wrap up of what the intent of a shared service is. You got 3 different jurisdictions, and in the 3 different jurisdictions, you had 3 different forms of administration, 3 different forms of training. You had 3 budgets. You had 3 sets of like equipment. With the shared service contract under Hollister Fire's administration, you've streamlined all of those redundant services into one. You have one administration, one HR, you have one payroll, and you have one master plan on the vision ahead for the entire community. Next slide. And in summary, the gentleman you see on your upper left-hand corner, that's Battalion Chief Kenny Malin. He's our planning chief. He comes up with all of the incident action plans, our policies. He's the guy that keeps me out of trouble. He's the guy that is the conspiracy theorist, and he will tell me, do not say this at council, or do say this at council. This is what needs to be brought up as far as the delivery of your message. And I rely on him and lean on him absolutely. That's what the command staff is about. We're your command staff to run the Fire Protection Agency. Next slide. Oh, the resolution. I don't know if that's mine.
I think that's it.
Okay, that's it. All right.
Yeah.
So there was a newer version of this, and it gave a 5-year plan, phased in 3. So it talks about trying to hire 2 more prevention officers to help Chief Bedolla. It talks about hiring the staffing levels that the truck is going to need once we get that truck delivered. So when you buy a fire truck, they build it from the chassis up. So we spec'd it out to meet the need of the cities of Hollister and San Batista. What happens in that is that we have Chief Dover that says, hey, you know what? The streets of Hollister and San Batista were designed for horse and buggy and a Model T. We need to get a tiller truck. So we put our folks into the mindset that the tiller truck is what we need to get. It takes 24 months. And by the way, the chiefs, not only do they have responsibilities, divisional responsibilities of operations planning and logistics, but they also run shifts. Poor guys, most fire departments that have the wealth and have the staffing only have one responsibility. Our guys have to do more with less. And you know what? I haven't heard him complain yet, but now that I said it, knock wood, they're going to start nagging at me. Watch. That kind of wraps up our way ahead. I take my lead from you. I take my lead from the city managers and the chief administrative officer, Ray Espinoza, and they say, hey, look, this is what the community is asking for. This is what the community needs. And we try to meet those goals. We try to satisfy the obligation of the fire contract. This concludes my presentation. I hope I didn't put too many asleep, and I'm available for questions.
Thank you very much, Fire Chief. That was amazing. Even the second time around, I'm amazed at what you and your folks accomplish in a year with the jurisdictions that you have to deal with. We really appreciate you. Councilmember Edge, questions, comments, concerns?
I just have a couple of questions, but you guys do so much. Thank you so much, Chief,
Yes,
for
ma'am.
filling us in. And your presentations are always very thorough, and I enjoy them. And I don't know if I've asked this question before, but how many firefighters do we have in San Benito County?
At present, what you have is a total of 41 total staff on shift per day. You'll have a total of 12 plus a battalion chief. And we also lean heavily on CAL FIRE with our auto aid agreement. They've committed to our vehicle accidents and our structure fires and our wildland fires. So if we get called out, they get called out. And that's the handshake agreement that and documented agreement that we've agreed upon. So you're going to get from San Benito County VEU, you'll get a total of 2 firefighters and an engine. From Oromas, you'll get a total of 3 and an engine. So our 13 and that 5, I can safely say we'll have a total of 18 to 20 firefighters at any one time because of the auto and mutual aid agreements.
Wow. Okay. Well, thank you. And then the fire station that's going to be going out on Union Road, I think you said. How do you determine where to put that fire station?
So what we do is we hold a study called Standards of Cover, and the standards of cover say where the population is more densely having the volume is where you want to put your facility for the optimal deployment status. So you only want to respond to a call within the minutes of 3 and 5 minutes. Anything longer than that, and the brain dies without oxygen in 6 minutes, and fire doubles in size in every 2 minutes. So how we determined that, there was a study that was conducted and paid for by San Juan Bautista, Hollister, and San Benito County. That study was called the Fire Feasibility Study, and they said, if you can put a fire station out at Union Road and San Juan Oaks Drive, Mitchell Road, where the old Single Tree, the grilling and chilling is, if you have a facility right there, that would meet the demand and close the gap between the city limits of Hollister and the city limits of San Juan Bautista. Well, unbeknownst to anybody, when Dal Webb came into town and said, hey, we want to build out your golf course and we want to put senior homes here. And oh, by the way, if we do that, we're going to provide you 2 acres of property so you can build a public safety facility. They didn't say it was going to be a police substation, a sheriff's substation, an ambulance company, or a firehouse. They just said public safety facility. Well, as soon as I heard that, I jumped on it, and I've been campaigning to move in that direction. If a feasibility study, people with that are a lot more intelligent than me say that's a good place to go, and if my command staff say, hey, that's the best place to go, I'm all in. I'm pushing all of it in, and we're going to try to get that to get built out.
Okay, I just was curious. And then how long have we been contracting with Hollister Fire Department? We used to have our volunteer fire department. And how long has it been?
Yes, ma'am. Good question. So it's been since 2013. And
Okay.
I think the discussion had been going on since 2011, 2012.
Okay. Okay. I was just curious. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Vice Mayor Flores?
No questions, but comments. Thank you very much. Very informative. You do a hell of a lot of work.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Friels?
Just thank you for the presentation. You answered my question about it sounds like we're getting there will be a paramedic out at San Juan Oaks 24/7. Is that true?
That is what we're shooting for, and I think that makes the most sense, Councilman Fields, because of the fact that you've got an at-risk population living out there, 55 and older. So it would be us negotiating with AMR to staff that one facility right there with a ALS rig, an advanced life support rig.
Yeah, that's good, because I think right now we're only running 2 medics in the whole county.
Yes, sir. Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Freeman?
Yes, thank you, Chief Del Campo. Excellent presentation. I have a couple of questions. Does your fire department provide services to Rancho Larios?
Yes, we do. Absolutely.
Okay, great. So what I'm trying to actually figure out is, I know that somewhere out in Aromas there's a fire district. So you guys go to 101. Do you go to the other side of 101? If there was a fire on 129, would you go there, or what?
Yes, we have, and a lot of times, if it's further into our auto aid agreement, what will happen is the Aromas Fire Protection Agency engine will go to wherever the fire is And if they need support, once they have eyes, visibility on the fire, and if they say, hey, look, we're going to need additional help, we're the first ones that get rung down, and we're there before even their own resources can get there. We've even been to vehicle accidents on 101 and 25 because we can get there faster than Gilroy can.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Do we have any public comment?
I don't see, oh, we do have one. Let's see. So the attendees, it's Jacqueline Morris Lopez again. And
Thank you
can-
very much. Jackie, hi, welcome. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. I just have a comment, or I guess a question or an observation. I thought I heard Chief Del Campo refer to the retirement development out there as within our sphere of influence, meaning San Juan Bautista. I think that's quite a ways away from where we are at. Was that just, did he mean Hollister, or was he talking about San Juan?
So my term in using that isn't the municipal sphere of influence. I'm meaning that as a response area, a response, an area of responsibility for us to respond to pertaining to the fire service, if that makes sense.
Well, it's just the terminology that you're using is misleading. It's really not explained.
I don't mean to mislead anybody.
Yeah, it's.
I don't mean to mislead anybody. What I'm trying to say is that it's within 5 to 8 minutes of the area of city of San Juan Bautista and the city of Hollister for the fire service to provide emergency service to.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jackie. Yeah. City Manager Don Reynolds.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Chief. That was a great presentation. Chief, at the Intergovernmental Committee, where we have Councilmember Freeman as the chair and Mayor Jordan attends, there was talk about forming a subcommittee to look at fire services. Could you help us all understand that? I've been asked to seek appointments to 2 members of our council to that subcommittee. Could you help us understand what that is?
Yes, sir. Good question. So what the subcommittee is, it more or less helps your fire protection agency come up with a plan ahead. We need to hear from our stakeholders what it is that you want from us, you as the elected officials, the policymakers. So if your strategic plan talks about, say, maybe you're going to start looking into light industrial in a certain area, we get that information and we help strategize what we need as far as equipment is concerned for a response in that area. So what an ad hoc committee or what a subcommittee will do is they're going to reassess what the contract has right now. So in the contract, it says, if our local jurisdiction grows in population by 12%, this contract needs to be readjusted to provide more insight and more input as far as, do we need to upstaff more? Do we need to buy more equipment? Do we need to place more facilities in strategically located places for the best deployment? So I don't know if we've met that 12% population growth. I think we're getting close. The last configuration that I came about was we were at 7% 2 years ago. We've grown 7% since the inception of this contract 2 years ago. So we're not going to wait for the Census Bureau to come out, every 10 years. We're going to look at it on a regular basis, every 24 months to 2 years. And if there's, a huge population growth, I think we're all going to be experiencing the growth behind it, and we can make the adjustment from that. This ad hoc committee will even speak on the type of services that you want recognized within the fire department. Maybe you want more bilingual CPR and first aid given to certain areas. Those are the kind of things that are discussed in the subcommittee.
So that's the 2018 fire feasibility study that we're using as a benchmark, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay, thank you. So hopefully you can join us next Tuesday and we'll talk about the council appointing 2 members. Give the council a heads up that that's on the horizon.
Absolutely, will do.
Thank you. That's all, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Again, Chief, thank you so much for all you do for us. The presentation, we appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And it does me a lot of good because it helps me remember just what we're doing here. Have a
Yeah.
good night.
Thanks, you as well.
Thank you, Chief. So, Mayor,
Yeah,
I
go
didn't,
ahead.
I was on it. I simply overlooked the fact that we had the sheriff on this agenda tonight to give a report. I can just summarize for you how things are working between the sheriff and the city right now. We have, as you've probably read in Bonito Link, the sheriff has reshuffled and promoted several of his key players and is in the middle of recruiting a lot of new deputies onto his staff. So that seems typical. When the sheriff came on board, there was some attrition that he had to attend to. And we're very fortunate to have Commander Keelan appointed as our new commander. Recall when Sheriff Taylor was actually our commander, and now we have, Captain Keelan, not commander, well, I think it is commander. And he's been very responsive. He's ambitious. He's ready to make a difference. And referring back to the Intergovernmental Committee, we were speaking about homelessness, and I'll just give you an example. Commander Keelan has left for vacation, but we were able to speak with him Monday, Code Enforcement Officer Rich Brown and I, about homeless and people living in cars. And he's going to assign our little project in that regard to Adam Modbill. And that's going to be his project, and he hopes by the 23rd we'll have some results in that regard as far as people living in their cars in our city. So he was just, he understood the situation. He understood that we had homeless beds available, and a little frustrated at first. You know, we always fall on law enforcement in these cases when nothing else works. But nonetheless, it just shows the kind of attitude that we have now in our sheriff's department. He also mentioned, for example, the Copperleaf neighborhood is trying to put together its own neighborhood watch. And he's been in direct contact with a resident there who's very ambitious about this and is excited about establishing neighborhood watch programs again in our city. So that's something that's encouraging. We want to see more of. And then we met Lieutenant Corral and Lieutenant Yerna in our public safety subcommittee meetings. And he's trying to get his 2 new lieutenants out before the public more often. So maybe we can have them introduced to the whole city council sometime in the near future. Lieutenant Corral is recruiting for our dedicated deputy. And I think that's important. I understand they have an eligibility list. They're offering a stipend. And when they have an eligibility list now, and he promised me more than one deputy to choose from. So I hope that appointment happens very soon. Of course, we all do. We've been working on that. I think the resolution was approved in December. So I'm relieved to hear that is moving forward as well. And like I said, if the council would like, we can ask the sheriff to come and give his own presentation, maybe on the 15th or when it works out best. We have a budget workshops planned coming up in April. Maybe the sheriff or his delegate, Commander Keelan, could speak to the sheriff's contract at that time. So with that, that's our public safety annual report, so to speak. And I was going to move through and provide the recommended changes to the strategic plan so we could complete our discussion tonight. If does the council have any questions of me or that I can share with the sheriff and get back to you on?
Councilmember Edge?
Thank you. I just have a couple of questions. Do we still have that office for the deputies that we have over at Windmill?
Yes, thank you for asking. In an earlier conversation 2 weeks ago, I was talking with Manikilan, and he and I were talking about security cameras and if they had any experience or any technological skills. And he was happy to announce that the sheriff has appointed a non-sworn IT specialist to focus just on sheriff needs. And he mentioned two kinds of, they're using the body cams and the vehicle cams now. And a lot of what the security camera systems entail is storing data, because you just wind up with mountains and mountains of data on servers. And the security of that and the privacy of that is all something that needs to be built into the security camera program. So with the dedicated IT, they're getting over some hurdles of getting IT into that storefront at the Windmill. It's surprising because that's where Etheric has done their upgrades at the Windmill. So maybe the two of them can work together. But that's been his first project. And as soon as they get the bandwidth available for them in that storefront, they'll begin using it. So that's been the holdup.
And so we've been paying for that office. I know it's not a lot, but we've been paying for it all this time and it hasn't been in use.
The city is not paying directly, and I thought the sheriff had quite a deal, like just the janitorial and upkeep of the building, not necessarily rent. But I can verify what we're paying for it.
Okay, and then, so is Keelan going to be our designated deputy or is there going to be somebody else?
It'll be an actual sheriff's deputy, and Keelan is a commander, and Lieutenant Yerna and Lieutenant Corral and the sergeant will be those supervisors that our dedicated deputy will report to.
And when will that begin?
I didn't have a date. All I know is that we have an eligibility list and they're interviewing and hopefully they'll make an offer soon to somebody. So
Well,
keep our ear to the ground.
okay, I hope it's soon because we've been waiting forever.
Yeah, I tried to say it a little nicer than that, but yeah.
I think that's all. I did have a suggestion on some signs for trucks, but I don't know if I should bring it up now or if I should wait.
Well, we can talk about it offline, or I mean, I didn't think we'd get down to that level of detail tonight, but sure.
Well, I see the sign that we have coming in as we come in from Anzar High School. I think I don't know it's going into First Street. But the sign that we have that prohibits large trucks from entering into our home into our city is so small. And I think I've asked you before, but I'd really like to see something that is more visible and then maybe further before they get to the city. What was that?
At Prescott, so they can turn down there.
Yeah, and then, there's a sign right at Prescott with a truck and a big red and a red circle with a slash on it that makes it look like they're not supposed to go on Prescott. So that needs to be, cleared up. And then the other thing is that I don't know if we have any on 156, but today, as I was leaving, and I mean, it happens all the time, I was at the stop sign and here's this big semi going through. And then I'm thinking, oh, we're doing construction on our roundabout. So I don't know what happened with that, but it was a big truck. It was a big semi. And so I'm just, wondering if we have anything off of 156 so that they do not come in and drive past the mayor's house.
Thank you. I appreciate that. We do have 2 signs right there at the Valero.
I started to
But I
bring
mean,
that
I
up.
don't know. I mean, once they're there, it's too late. Where are they going to go? It needs to be beforehand, but I wanted to bring that
I
up.
agree. Preaching to the choir on that one.
Okay.
I started to bring that up with the new Public Works Director at County RMA, but he's now the acting director of County RMA. So I've had some turnover issues getting help out on Prescott and some on Highway. I can talk to 156 with COG because they have a great relationship with Caltrans, so I can speak to them directly about that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Vice Mayor Flores.
No questions, no comments, other than a good presentation. You do a lot of work.
Thank you. Councilmember Friels.
No questions. Just thank you, Don. Appreciate the work.
Thank you. Councilmember Freeman.
Thank you. No questions at this time.
Thank you. Did we do public comment on the police department, the sheriff's department?
I don't believe so. I don't see any hands raised.
Thank you very much.
Mhm.
Thanks, Don. Very much looking forward to seeing either the sheriff or Captain Keelan or Lieutenants Corral or Urena. And very much looking forward to getting some Bautista staffed. So yeah, if you can invite them to a future meeting, that'd be awesome.
Sure, you bet.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. I have more slides to review in regards to our strategic plan.
Yep, go ahead. Carry on.
So those were our annual reports. Basically, pardon me, let me get this started again. There we go. Okay. Focus area 1 delved into these details: create, promote, and nurture partnerships with our community. And we listed various partnerships that we could consider. And this is from our 21 strategic plan, our current strategic plan, the one that we're updating. And focus area 2 talks about everything our assistant city manager and community development director, Brian Fouch, has been working on since he got here. I can't believe he's been here almost 11 months. And he's done so much in this area to help us reach these goals. And we'll delve into more detail. The one thing that we haven't touched on, as I've been reminded, Councilmember Freeman's, one of his pet peeves is the climate action plan. And that is something that we can focus some energy on here in the next coming year. But we do have our new Economic Development Citizens Advisory Committee established. We do have the sphere of influence moving forward. And we have work to bolster up our current and advanced planning services in our city. So that's been awesome and worthy investment. We've also reduced our contract services cost by 50% for Harrison Associates. That's what Brian's been able to do for us in that focus area. Again, focus area 3, we are working, I've worked most of the day today on regionalization of our source of water and our discharge of wastewater. We have our MOUs in place with San Benito Water Districts and our MOU in place with Hollister, which we'll be considering an amendment to at our 15th meeting the next Tuesday. We have our master plans are now completed for both water and wastewater. They've been amended as far as population growth, et cetera. So they've been refined since we've received them. That includes maps of all of our systems, which we're constantly updating. Every time we fix a leak, we find new pipes we didn't know we had in our historic culture. It lives underground as well. Funding priorities in the pavement management plan. Before our city engineer retired, she had completed a rough draft of an RFP, and we're ready to go out to bid here in the next couple of weeks. for 7 different streets to be addressed by the pavement management plan. And I know, Mayor, you in particular, were hoping that we could address all levels of infrastructure within our streets as we do this. But unfortunately, our infrastructure is expensive. The quarter mile of 3rd Street that we did was $1.4 million when it was done. We did change all the infrastructure, sewer, water, and storm drains. The pavement management plan is really focusing on the surface and where the surface is the worst and preventing it from decaying. So where we can, we will look at the water and sewer infrastructure. Right now, our resources are focused mostly on getting the force main completed to Hollister and the 6-mile pipeline from the water district in place. We still have our water and wastewater plans do put forth a couple $100,000 for each for replacing and repairing pipes under the pavement. But sometimes it's not always simple to get the two to work together, depending on adverse priorities. So we have now Nidal, Sam Howry, who has started with CSG as our city engineer. And this is something we talked about. Today was officially his first day on his own working for the city. So we're going to put together a CIP for you. And we're going to get our pavement management plan out to bid before the summer. That's the best time to work on our streets. So reducing greenhouse gases and sustainable independent power grid, that's on the wish list right now for us. Stormwater inflow and infiltration is something we're looking at all the time. Rancho Vista has been the focus, and we're still working on that, and we're still holding Meritage feet to the fire, so to speak, and still arguing, quote, literally, about whether or not that stormwater system is proper or not. So the good photographs that we got on the day of the storm in December 27th is helping argue our case, and we're still holding on to performance bonds to make sure that those facilities, particularly those new facilities, work properly. On facilities, I was supposed to get bids from 2 different vendors February 4th to upgrade the city council chambers, and neither vendor was able to deliver. I got a call last week from one of the qualified vendors who said, I promise I will send it to you last week. And now we're 3 days into this week and no bid. I hope to be able to bring that bid award for the chamber upgrades to you Tuesday, the 15th. And I'll be making some calls tomorrow to see what's happening with that proposal. It's about a $50,000 project that's already budgeted. I've also developed the specifications and refined the specifications for improving the acoustics at the community hall. And so we should be able to get that together relatively quickly. I don't think it's as complicated with today's technology than it was when the study was done in 2018. I think we can go about it cost effectively and efficiently and get it done before the end of the fiscal year. And then lastly, I presented yesterday afternoon to the school district's facilities committee about a fencing plan for their campus. The city council appropriated $175,000 to open up that campus so that the children and community could use the basketball courts, the playground, and the proposed track and field. And I think we have enough money. And now we have the measurements, the number of gates, the specifications for a 6-foot fence. It's 1,070 feet long. It has 6 10-foot rolling gates. It has 1 swinging gate that will secure the buildings while our community is invited in through the gates near the soccer field to use that facility. We got a list today of qualified candidates for a part-time maintenance worker position, and that would be that weekend position that could open and close those gates and help manage that facility as a guarantee to the school district that we're going to do our share. So that's really exciting, and I hope that happens quickly. It doesn't take a lot of time to put up chain link fence, and we have the money to do it. So I've made a lot of progress on that particular project in the last few weeks. And then the open space and active transportation plan, open space, sphere of influence, these things are all coming together under Brian's leadership as part of the SB2 grant and the Caltrans grant that we got for the active transportation. Active transportation, again, for people don't want to have fancy terms, we don't need them. It's basically a trail system for bikes and walking, making sure we have quote complete streets with traffic control in them that favors bicycle lanes and pedestrians. So we'll do a whole audit of our whole city we're planning some walking tours with the community invited, and what I call in my Mission Village Voice article, design charrettes weekends. So a lot more to come with community engagement as a focus on our open space and active transportation plans moving forward. And then promoting public amenities, I think, also goes hand in hand with the active transportation plan, because it will connect all of our amenities. It will connect Luck Park to Abbey Park under Washington Street underpass and find its way over towards the De Anza Trail eventually. So we are working on that trail system. Recreation is an important focus. Understanding that Franklin Park is under construction. We completed the Luck Park master plan. And the restrooms for Veruti Park are on delivery. They're somewhere between Iowa and here. So we hope to receive them by the end of March, and the public will finally see restrooms at Veruti Park by the end of this month. I've got my fingers crossed. And then in the future, we have to think of some form of master plan for Washington Street Park. There was mention at a meeting some while back of creating some temporary dog park or small informal amenities there. But it still requires ADA access with public parking, going to need public restrooms. And so it's a pretty complicated endeavor. So we need a plan for that. Listed here also is cultural arts and activities. Of course, we think of Teatro Campesino originally, and then Credo Studios and other partners that we've worked with recently. So, so that's it in a nutshell. We've funded these focus areas in our last budget. And so the question is, do we want to add to those budgets, or do we want to create new programs? Our public safety initiative has $100,000. Our sphere of influence and our sphere of influence and urban growth boundary committee has $100,000 to work with. And then in this report, in my staff report for this meeting, I had mentioned a lot of ideas under the topic of recreation that we can consider, especially as we get our facilities modernized and up to speed. So these are some of the changes that I've this is just a red line, and these are Brian's feedback and my feedback together as we looked at how could we improve our strategic plan. And so all I did was consolidate public and private into actual topic-based subjects. We have a public comment today to share with you from Mr. Valentin Lopez. Mr. Lopez wrote us today. He said it would be nice if the Amamutsan tribal band were part of the strategic plan for San Juan Bautista. And we have worked with Val Lopez in the past. Happy to reach out to him to see how we could include that, especially in this subject, as a new partner for us to work with. But all of these partners, if there are new partners, we can go back and revisit and add to this list. And let's see, I'll just cut through this. The second focus area, preserve, protect, and promote our community assets. I'm updating this to say continue to expand community development services, initiate the general plan amendment to include a new sphere of influence. That's starting. That would be a good use for our funding that we've leveraged with some of these grant monies. Focus on the city's advanced planning and preserve its historic assets, and maintain the city's certified local government status through historic preservation. In addition to this, we have applied for a rather large historic preservation grant, $750,000, I believe. And Brian's here today if you want to delve into that in a little more detail. So we are taking steps to preserve our historic assets here in the town. You just don't see the results yet, but we're working on it. Create a housing and economic development division. Well, we created the subcommittee, the Economic Development Citizens Advisory Committee, and that will lead to our 3rd Street master plan, and they'll be involved in the community outreach around that. We have $100,000 set aside. We haven't used much of that money. So that project is funded, and when it's ready, it'll move forward. Further develop the recommendations from the city's Economic Development Advisory Committee then is a new goal, and to begin our 3rd Street master plan. And John, I didn't forget, adopt the city's climate plan. So lastly, with our infrastructure, I've just updated some stuff here. Build a new source of water, and build a force main to Hollister to discharge the wastewater. Continue to invest in the infrastructure prioritized in the master plans. continue to fund the priorities of the pavement management plan, reduce greenhouse gases, et cetera, and update and modernize city facilities. That's the way I've changed that one. And then promoting our public amenities. Again, looking at our park system, but fund and build the active transportation trail system we're working on. The grant we are using gives us the ability to use the results to fund and build the trail system. The same is true with the Luck Park Master Plan. It can be used to fund and build some of the initial features in the Luck Park Master Plan that we've identified. And expand recreational opportunities through the partnerships of schools, like we are doing with the playground, the joint use of the facility. And consider special events to highlight the heritage of cultural arts and activities. Teatro Campesino and Credo Studios, and of course, the Alma Mutsun. They have had an annual festival here. They had their flea market. And so we can bring that back post-COVID. So that would be one way that we could help and begin to rebuild a partnership with that group. Consider special establishing parks and recreation library subcommittee. So this was on our list last year, but we didn't have the staff or the bandwidth to carry it out. So that's something if the council is interested in, we can carry forward into this next year. And then consider staffing recreation programs. We need staff if we want to reestablish our youth commission. We had our planner, Todd Kennedy, staffing the youth commission before, and that's just seemed inappropriate for his skill set. So if we want to consider part-time or full-time recreation coordinator position, that would be awesome. And that would help us use the community hall, both for senior programs and for summer and after-school programs, not just as quinceaneras and rented out facility for the private to use. So that's some options that I have in my staff report that the council can consider for funding next year. Enforce ordinances, maintaining the quality of life. So we've got our public safety committee up and running. We've talked a lot about security cameras, and again, I'm still exploring that so I can get a request for proposals issued. Contract staffing alignments, code enforcement and private security. These are all things that we've been working on, and I think our dedicated deputy is going to really help us in that regard. Last week, I shared a link with the city council. The county's new hazardous multifunctional plan has been drafted. It's about 135 pages, and it is really awesome and goes into a lot of detail. I had a chance to comment on it, and in fact, the director of County Office of Emergency Services held up the plan in order to wait for me to provide feedback on the plan. So I think San Juan Bautista is in a better spot than it was last time we talked about hazard mitigation plans. And once it's approved and it's gone through this public vetting, then we'll begin doing tabletop exercises and practicing responses to earthquake scenarios or flooding scenarios or pandemic scenarios. And that's when the plan really becomes meaningful to our community. So we're on the brink of really delving into emergency preparedness, and that's the relief, and that's good to know. So if you had a chance to read through that or have any comments you want to convey to me, I'm happy to share them with Chris Mangano, the manager of the director of the Office of Emergency Services. So nurture diversity, identify and remove inequities, and celebrate the strength that comes from a strong and diverse community. This is something that we gain by good listening. And I think our community engagement strategies, as we roll them out at the end of March and April, are going to really foster good listening on behalf of our city listeners, city leaders, so that we can understand everyone's individual situation in our little community and work harder to identify and remove inequities as best we can. So that's pretty much the gist of it. As I wrote this in February, I was thinking sufficient sustainable resources exist for operational growth. We're running an operational surplus in our general fund of about $300,000 a year. We survived the pandemic. The increase in revenues seems to be sustainable. And so it seems to be sustainable enough at this time to recommend operational growth. We will have cost of living and inflation to consider. 5%. Last year we went up about 2%, 2.9%. So we will have to take into consider the cost of living as from our contractors and increased contract costs, which we'll be rebidding. We'll be rebidding our city engineer and our private security. And of course, the restaffing city clerk, and whether or not that'll be an elected position or whether that our deputy city clerk position will become the city clerk position. These are all some structuring changes. The city council scheduled a March town hall meeting to focus on the strategic plan. So that's what I'm doing at this meeting. We're going to talk just mostly about that. And that's my last slide. Like I said, we do have the operational capacity to expand our organization. I thought maybe we would consider recreation, and I'm happy to go back through any of these slides if the council would like. I've been talking for a long time, so I'd like to give you all a chance and the community to pitch in on your thoughts. So thank you so much for your time. It's a real important part of our budgeting process, and I think it's real important that we do this every year. So thank you again, Mayor and City Council and public, for letting me bring you all up to speed on where we are with our strategic plan. And with that, staff has done a lot of talking tonight.
Don't stop yet. We have questions.
Okay, good.
Councilmember Edge, questions, comments, concerns?
Yes, thank you so much, Dawn. Great presentation. And I just have one question. I think it was February 15th, was it 2020? February 15th, 2020, when we had our initial strategic planning meeting with the community.
Yes, I recall it was right after Valentine's Day in the library, right?
Right, okay. So I'm wondering, because, things happen like COVID, but would it be proper to have another meeting like that to possibly add or amend some of these things that we came up with?
Yes, that's the council's direction. No problem.
Yeah, okay, all right. It was just a question, and I'm just, wondering, because there's been a lot of change in the last 3 years, and so, that's why I thought maybe we should revisit this.
Yeah, we found last fall that the in-person meetings are a lot more potent than these Zoom meetings.
Yeah. Okay, all right. Well, that's all I had. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Vice Mayor Flores?
Yes, thank you, Don. A lot of good information there. But I have one question. Is broadband access not part of a strategic plan?
So in terms of broadband access, the influence and the funding from both the USDA and the state of California are for those underserved areas of our community. And our city is currently served through our franchise agreement with Charter. So the underserved areas in the community tend to be those outlying unincorporated areas around the city. So remember, we did a lot of work with Etheric to bring a second provider in. I've been working with property owners downtown. I spoke to one today, and I spoke to another property owner earlier in the week, because Etheric is finally pulling its building permits to bring their high-speed internet to the top of our water tank to share as a competition to Charter. So to an extent, our little city is going to be, I would say within the next 2 months, pretty well taken care of with free Wi-Fi access downtown, bouncing off the tops of some of these building owners that I've talked to, their buildings, and also accessible from the water tank. And it's actually Etheric that's going to make it really efficient and effective to put in our camera system, because we'll be able to do that on a wireless format instead of having to wire things together. So I feel like we have a broadband plan for our community that we have a private party partnership with that's putting up funding a lot of the upfront costs and bringing that 100 megabytes of bandwidth to our library, our public works yard, community hall, and city hall and fire department. So So is there more, or do you think the city should be involved bringing broadband to the unincorporated areas around it? I do know that from the intergovernmental committee that the county does have its own strategic plan that they're working on to service those areas.
Okay, so is that service going to be available to everyone in all the residents?
Yes, that's anyone within eyesight of the tank. So that will make it difficult for those at Copperleaf or at the RV park. And it's also a challenge. We would need to put up a relay station or something to get around the hill there at the Alameda to get broadband broadcast back into the canyon. So those are next steps, I suppose, for Etheric, and Etheric has the rights to do that. They won a statewide bid, so that was a good thing to partner with them, because they will be eventually expanding their services to the unincorporated areas around us. It's just not happening quickly, and some of that is the technology, the silicon chips that need to be bought, and things are back ordered with logistic headaches. So that's the way it's been described to me. But I have talked with the Rotary and their special committee that Phil and Wayne Norton are part of. And so we help out where we can, but they're mostly focused outside the city limits, not so much inside. Maybe, and I could be wrong about that. So anyway, my ears are open and I welcome their feedback.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Friels?
Thank you. Couple questions and then maybe a request. Sustainable independent power grid. Help me with that one. What are we talking about? Maybe we'll do one at a time here. We're talking about our own power plant?
No, not exactly. That's a great question. Thank you, council member. During the end of the drought, we experienced, well, first of all, we had the situation where the power company in San Diego was tied to the wildfires that swept through that community out near Escondido, and was such a horrible emergency. And PG&E's initial response, you may recall, it was the fall of 2019, was to just turn off power whenever any kind of threat of wind or fire, red flag fire days occurred. And it was hard. They turned off the power to Aromas for 3 days. And that meant that suddenly our pumps and wells and other things would be without power for 3 days. And so we really focused back in 2019 and working with our partners at 3CE to find ways to put up solar, to put up emergency generators, and to pull up battery storage. Since then, PG&E has become much more sophisticated, and it's much more localized in the way they turn off power. And they have weather stations all over our county, I think 33 of them, to judge the winds and the high fire, red flag danger areas. So they have improved, and our power hasn't been shut off the way we were afraid it was going to be. But nonetheless, there are examples, and I've talked with the city manager of Gonzales, who's put up a whole industrial park using solar panels and trying to keep this new industrial park completely off the grid and self-contained. And I think that is feasible with an infrastructure district out on San Juan Hollister Road, where we have our industrial properties zoned all along Mission Vineyard and San Juan Hollister Road. So Brian and I are going to work with Gonzales to see how we could take that to the next level. And I don't know, John Freeman had a special interest in that, and maybe he wants to add to my description of where we were with that initiative.
Okay, I can talk to John later on that one. The special events that yet under item 4D, the special events and the heritage type ceremonies and stuff. Can we get the Historical Society involved with that also? So they can have their 2 cents in what the heritage of the community of San Juan. They pretty much focus just on the city. So Okay. And then you said on our general fund, you said we had a little bit of a surplus, you said? Or
Yeah.
we've been turning one over?
Yes, and so it seems to be sustainable. It's not a once in a year, it's not an anomaly. We are running a couple of $100,000 in the black right now. So with a healthy reserve of more than $2 million. So perhaps we have room for our operations to grow.
And that's, I love hearing that. I'm a little leery about spending some big money right now. You know, inflation's at 7.5%. I just filled up Shauna's car and it, you know, cost me $100. I actually stopped at $100. I'm really nervous about our economy and where it's going right now. Can we kind of circle the wagons a wee bit about spending some money? It's nice. I mean, what you did during COVID was miraculous. I mean, I tell people around the Central Coast how well we did, and people would just they scratched their heads and said, how the heck did you guys pull that off? But I don't know, it just makes me nervous. Right now, things are a little too odd, what's going on in the country. But I guess globally too, right? Okay, well, thank you. But thank you. It's good to hear that we're doing so well. I appreciate all your hard work on that, Don. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Councilmember Fields. Gee, my credit card cut off at $125 trying to fill my truck. So anyway, I shouldn't say that. I'll get a cut in pay so we can break even. All right. Thank you very much for those feelings. Thank you. Okay.
Thanks. Councilmember Freeman.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Don, for the great presentation. I'd just like to address the broadband. There are really two separate considerations there. One is the ability to access broadband, and two is the ability to people to afford it. For example, right now we do have access to fairly high-speed broadband. It meets the definitions set up by the PUC and all that. The only problem with it is it's charter and it's very expensive. But you know, if you get the TV service and the internet, it's well over $180 a month. Mine's $200 a month. If you just get internet, it's like $79.99 a month. That's still very expensive. So we need more providers to drive prices down through what I would call competition. So that's there are also government subsidy programs for people who meet certain criteria where they can pay up to, I think it's $29.99 per month for internet access. And sometimes if they work it right, that can drive the price down to like $5-10 a month for a family. And I would consider that very reasonable. So we need to maybe get someone to figure out all that and put it at the library or something. There are applications, I do believe, that we could access, and so we need to work on that. But I think Etheric will be a great addition to us. Not only will it be for our town, but it will also go out into the valley, San Juan Valley, and other areas. It is, as you've mentioned several times, line of sight, so the candying will be really tough. But if they want to put up repeater stations because they'll make more money, I would really encourage them. I will remind everybody that Etheric is getting considerable subsidies from the state of California to do this. It's not a charity. And so that's good. We need to recoup the money that we pay to the state for our own selves, so we can have a small, cute, historically oriented town with modern conveniences. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Don, can you go over really quick the 7 streets for in our surface pavement management plan? And you mentioned in the summertime, so I'm just hoping that they're prioritized so we still get good flow through the city during our special events.
Right. I knew you'd ask me that question.
You You knew I would.
Hold on, let me find it. I can pull up the exact slide for you. Hold on just a second. This won't take near as long as the last effort. It's in my CIP, so I just need to get to my budget real fast. It's just, right now it's loading and reviewing all the files, so it takes about 10 seconds. Did you have other questions that I can speak to as well, Mayor, while I do this?
Yes, you mentioned a weekend person and the campus, the school campus being open on weekends only. Was it weekends only? Or is it after school whenever school is not in session?
So the goal was, when the school is not in use, that the public would have access to it. And we'll need to work with the school district on how that happens. So if they have janitorial staff coming in at 3 p.m. and working till 6 or 7, Monday through Friday, perhaps the janitorial staff could help lock up their facility when it gets dark. And then we could provide staff on the weekends when they don't have any staff on campus. What we need to do, and what the superintendent and I agreed to yesterday, or Friday, I'm sorry, was to bring forth a joint use agreement between the two agencies, and we can hash out all those details.
Okay, that would be perfect.
Yeah. So that's
And-
coming.
And yay for cutting Harrison Associate by 50%, Brian, with the addition of Brian. That's super good news.
Okay, let's see if I can find that list of streets. I can tell you that most of the streets are first, second, third, or the Alameda. So we have overlay and ceiling cracks and so forth from Franklin Street to the 156, that whole stretch of the Alameda. We have First Street up and around north and in that area. And then there's another part. It's 7 projects in total. I believe Polk Street's included in some of that. I know Councilmember Flores wants to see all of Polk Street redone. What I did was as we went out with the RFP, I went back to our Measure G funds, and the balance available there has increased some $100,000 because of success with the sales tax in our county. So there is more money there, and we're hoping to add more streets to it.
Okay.
Yeah, I have the budget. Let's see. Here's the whole CIP, and I can share this with you. Assuming Adobe will come up.
One of my biggest concerns is egress and access for the city that we're coordinating with our summer events.
Right.
We actually have a summer event calendar. I'm super excited about that.
Well, I'm not going to be able to get it from home today.
That's okay. Just in the back of your head when we're moving forward with that we make sure that and I know the streets are kind of goofy where it's really intelligent speak where we're doing it, but just so we have free flow or somewhat of a free flow. And I want to thank Councilmember Edge for thinking about me and the big trucks coming in and out. Amazing work that staff and council are doing to meet all of the strategic plan goals that we set out together 3 years ago, and that we keep expanding upon it. Well done, all. Do we have any public comment on?
I don't see any hand raised. Oh, we do have one. Hold on a second. We've got two. We've got Danny Joe.
Okay, thank you. Comments, please keep your comments to 3 minutes. Danny Joe, where'd you go? There you go.
Here you go.
Dan, welcome. Hi.
You got to unmute.
Hi.
There we go.
Hi there. Thank you, Madam Mayor and council members. I think this question would be best addressed to Don. Don, I heard you mention during your presentation reference to a new sphere of influence and that being a part of a general plan amendment. But what I didn't hear was anything as regards an urban growth boundary. So my question is whether the city has abandoned any effort to establish an urban growth boundary. And if so, when did that happen officially? And if not, what is the status? And would a new urban growth boundary also be a part of a general plan amendment?
Dan, I just realized I forgot to call you at 3 o'clock. I'm so sorry. So I still
That's
owe you
okay.
a phone. I still owe you a phone call on this matter. And I can let Brian speak to this. As I expressed to you in an email a month or so ago, we're going to have a community engagement process. Staff's not going to make the decision whether or not to have an urban growth boundary or a sphere of influence. I think that needs to come from our community engagement process. But Brian, I see that you've turned your video on. Would you like to respond to Dan DeVries?
Yes, absolutely. So we had the Urban Growth Boundary Committee formulate a recommendation reviewed by the Planning Commission and again reviewed by the City Council. And part of that recommendation was a starting point for a configuration for a sphere of influence. And not to assume that there will not be an urban growth boundary. There are two distinct concepts, as you know. The sphere of influence has legal meaning, and the urban growth boundary does not, except as might be provided by the general plan. So it is important to look at the urban growth boundary as a general plan tool, land use tool, within the envelope created by the sphere of influence. And the sphere of influence then gives us, some degree of operational control, if we will. I hate to use that word, but it is in fact gives us the ability to comment and have significant influence over what happens outside our established city boundary. So I'd like to not defer that question, but I'd like to throw that question into the community plan effort that is underway. It's $250,000 that our city is going to spend on public engagement, on evaluation of our growth rate, city services, and so forth, to establish the sphere of influence and, if desired, an urban growth boundary. So we don't want to presume that there will be. We don't want to presume that there won't be either, but we do know that we absolutely need a sphere of influence that works for us. And there are a lot of important topics, as you know, that that sphere of influence needs to address: open space and conservation, community character, city services, our general plan growth rate, and all of that wrapped up in this feeling that we have about San Juan Bautista as an intact community. So that's my answer. Stay tuned and please participate.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have any more?
Yes,
Any
we
other
do.
public comment?
Yes, Jacqueline Morris Lopez.
Thank you very much. Welcome, Jackie. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mayor Jordan and council members and public. I too am speaking as a resident. This is my hat tonight. So I also feel that there needs to be included in this amended general plan an urban growth boundary. My understanding of the sphere of influence has to do with services that can be provided as a municipality, meaning San Juan Bautista, where urban growth boundary defines an area where you do not want to grow. And I feel because we have the encroachment of Hollister spreading out now to the Mission Oaks Golf Course, and maybe it was a misspoke or misspeak on the captain or fire captain's uh, speech about that's within our sphere of influence. So as we all know, that's quite a few miles away from our city hall. So I think it behooves us as a community and agency to really, 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 I'm going to go a step beyond Mr. Fout and say we need an urban growth boundary. It's not a matter of if and when or will. We need that urban growth boundary. And when Mr. DeVries started this committee years ago, everybody was on board to go along with that. And now we've sort of muddied the waters and we're sort of willing to say one is the same, and it's not. They're not the same. And I think we really need to put that back in our general plan. And $250,000, I'm sorry, that's quite a bit of money to spend on public outreach for this effort. It just seems like a huge amount of money. Why can't some of that money be set aside to really do something for our youth? We're talking about preserving our town and the uniqueness of it, but we're really not addressing right now at this time in real time something for our youth. I just think $250,000 is just a lot. And my last comment or question is, how will you engage the monolingual Spanish speaking community members? There's not a lot I've seen in the past come to the table. And I just hope that there's an all out effort to include this population that lives in our community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have any other public comment?
No, we don't.
Thank you very much.
May-
More to come on sphere of influence, urban growth boundary.
I did want to make one point of
Go
the
ahead.
funding that we're using is grant funding that we've compiled. So we're using a little bit of general fund, but we're also using quite a bit of SB2 grant money for that project. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, update on COVID-19. 4B.
4B. Yeah, what's happening with COVID-19?
Oh, 7B.
7B. We have reached out to our risk management group, PARSAC, because we just adopted a COVID prevention plan that has a lot to do with vaccinated and unvaccinated employees and how to respond to testing kits. We ran out and put money down on 250 testing kits that are back ordered and still haven't shown up yet. And thanks to the fire department, we've had a flow of 20 testing kits a week. When unvaccinated employees return to work, they are tested. And when employees show up sick, they are tested. So we are continuing to do that, of course. Some people come into City Hall and they see that we are or are not wearing masks. And as noted here in the Sacramento newspaper, the Sacramento Bee, this was back February 15th. Local governments can continue their own indoor masking requirements. And last week, LA County's health officials said that they intend to keep theirs in place beyond the state deadline. So we have gotten rid of the mask requirement signs as you come into City Hall. A lot of the staff is vaccinated. Almost all of the staff is vaccinated. So you may see us in the back of City Hall not wearing masks because those of us in the back of City Hall are all vaccinated. So that's it's on and off. When I met with the school district, I didn't know if I had to wear a mask or not. And then I learned that the students weren't in session on Monday. So I didn't have to wear my mask because we were outside. It just seems like it's all over the place. So it's really become more of a personal choice than a government regulation. And that's the way I think our businesses and our community is responding. I don't have a lot of answers on COVID-19. I haven't received a lot of direction from the county or the state. In fact, the trend seems to be the other way, and people are getting back out and visiting and going about their business again. So I don't have anything to add to the COVID-19 update. It's still a little bit confusing, but certainly in public transit and nursing homes, congregate living facilities, you're going to find that they're still looking to people to wear masks. Any questions or thoughts on that?
Councilmember Edge.
No, I don't have any questions on that. I wear my mask when I'm in public indoors in a closed area, but I think it's optional now. I think everybody see people with their masks on, and I see some without masks. So, and it is like you said, Dawn, very confusing. You're not really, you don't know how to respond, but the only thing I can say is people need to take care of themselves, and if they're, if they have issues, health issues, they need to take care of themselves and just avoid large crowds where there aren't any, people wearing masks. So that's all I have to say. But thank you for the update, Don.
Thank you very much. Vice Mayor Flores?
No comments. Thank you, Don, for the update. And I still wear my mask when I feel like I have to.
Thank you. Councilmember Friels?
Thank you, Don, for the update. My only request is we don't do anything that Los Angeles County does. Thank you.
Have my vote, Scott.
Councilmember Freeman?
Mirroring on what Scott said, thank you, Don, for the great presentation. I don't want to follow LA either. It's a little crazy down there. And thank you to Councilman Edge and Flores, for reminding us it's a little confusing out there. I find it confusing. I go into various stores, Windmill Supermarket, Nob Hill and Hollister, and half the people have masks on and half have it off. And I try and wear mine if I have a criteria. If I'm going to be in there longer than 5 minutes, it goes on. If not, if I'm just in and out real quickly, like pumping gas or something, I don't. I hope that works. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So the back of City Hall is not wearing them. Is the front of City Hall wearing them? I know there's a screen there.
No, as of the 15th,
No indoor. Okay. And you said we're getting 20 kits per week. Are we using 20 kits per week?
We ran out after about 9 business days, and within hours, the chief had come out with a new box of 20 kits. So I would guess that we're using about 15 kits a week. It depends. We've had employees come in sick, and so we've tested them, and one actually did test positive and had to be sent home. So we're glad that we have them and we use them when we need them. But I don't know if we need 250 anymore, and it's taken a month to get here.
Can we cancel that order?
I can call a certain former Board of Supervisor member and cancel my order. Yeah, I hope so.
Unless, except for the ones that we need to return to the firehouse.
Yeah. So, but it's nice having a partner like the fire chief to help us out.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. It was lifted and the mask mandate, and we'll talk about this, I'm sure. Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, at the merchants meeting and EDCAC, if merchants still feel that they want to require or request that those who come into their establishment, they can still request that.
Yeah, that's my understanding, is that it's up to the individual store owner at this point.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Thank you, Don. Do we have any public comment on this?
Yes, we do. Jacqueline Morris Lopez.
Thank you very much. Hi, Jackie, you have 3 minutes.
I don't think I'll use that, but I'm really happy that you got that Dawn gives the monthly updates on this. It's really critical. Me being a healthcare provider, I do work with small children that are the highest group of unvaccinated in Monterey County, but also there's parents that are unvaccinated still. So I think, we all need to just be vigilant. And I mean, I promote mask using, and as I'm sitting here a few hours ago, I was updating on the latest, and you're not going to like what I have to say, but there is a new subvariant of Omicron. And this was an article posted yesterday, March 7th in New York City, just as their numbers were trending down. So not a whole lot to say about it other than it's still around, it's kicking around. I know New York is, across the country from us, but we are a little tourist town. People travel, they're back traveling again. So just be cautious. I wear my mask when I'm out in public, at work. Obviously, I work in a medical facility, so that's still a requirement. The only time I don't wear a mask is when I'm at home or in my car. So that's my sage advice for right now with this new subvariant that just hit the States. And I guess it's also been isolated, detected in the UK and increasing their numbers. And this is just from yesterday that this article went out. Thank you. Be safe. Take care. Good night.
Thank you very much. Don, water and wastewater update.
Oh my gosh. Never mind. Yes. On our wastewater project, again, these slides, these slides are a little bit old, so I think the council's aware of much of this. When the wastewater, so we have 3 compliance projects, and I've been working all day addressing the MOU for our wastewater with Hollister. The 3 components of our EPA compliance include our water softener, our ban on new brine producing water softeners. And then when the drinking water from West Hills is connected to blend with our well water, we will then begin to remove all of the brine producing water softeners in our city using that law that's already in place. So the wastewater plans are 90% completed. This is our force main to Hollister. Finance plan is a priority, and the USDA provided a list of issues they have with our application last week. And one of them is you have to amend your MOU with Hollister, because that MOU specifies that we will have the drinking water connection established at or before sending our wastewater to Hollister. So what has been happening in the last few weeks is we've been working with the Wallace Group, and that's the technical engineering firm that helps manage the Hollister treatment plant. And they've been looking at the percent of water we'd be sending them, about 160,000 gallons per day, is less than 10% of what that treatment plant manages on a daily basis, millions of gallons of wastewater per day. So they are comfortable allowing the water connection to occur 1 year after the force main is connected. And that's good because it sides on the favor of getting us away from the penalties we're incurring by sending our effluent to the creek. So getting us out of that business, and I know John Freeman disagrees with me, but by stopping sending our effluent to the creek, we win the favor of the EPA and the support of the Water Board. And I will schedule a closed session for next Tuesday at 5 p.m. because I have an important update for the council, a call that I received at 4 p.m. this afternoon from the penalty division of the Water Board. And I look forward to sharing that feedback with the council next Tuesday. But it's an interesting proposal from them, not the response we feared when we made decisions in closed session a while ago. So we're still facing those fines, and at the same time, we are building our projects. So I'm working also on identifying the costs of, still focused on wastewater. Last week, I had the opportunity to tour Coke Farms with our city engineer, and understand what they've done to their plant out at Coke Farms to completely separate the water they were using to wash down their coolers. They admitted to us that they had been sending not just their domestic wastewater to us, but wastewater from their coolers. And they have now totally isolated that process. And that's the only industrial process they have on their plant. They're processing small batches of specialized vegetables and placing them in the cases, in the boxes in the field. So all they're doing is bringing them in, icing the boxes and sending them out. So you have some water runoff there at the loading docks, and then you have water that's needed to clean the coolers, and they have a water softener system for the cooler itself. All of that water is now contained in storage tanks, plastic storage tanks on their property, and it's used to water and control dust on their property as part of the farm operation. So that is the kind of change that we're looking for. They showed us the area where they're going to put in a concrete vault where they will have their own method of pumping and measuring the flow that comes from the Coke lift station before it mixes with Taylor Farms. So the Water District helped us create these surveys so we could define what domestic water was from Coke's property. They have 40 employees. They have 2 shifts. They don't have lockers or showers. They don't have a kitchen of any kind. They have an employee break room. They work out of portable trailers there. So that is one type of operation that obviously does not have much of a source of domestic water. And now we can define it and create a benchmark unique for Coke's operation. So we took the same 4-page survey approved by the Water Board and sent it to Taylor Farms and received it back last week as well. We have scheduled a tour of that facility on the 16th, next Wednesday morning, and invited our city engineer and others to that tour as well. They have over 1,000 employees there. They are washing lettuce, but they have their own industrial wastewater system there that is supposed to separate their industrial wastewater from their domestic. So part of the tour is making sure that the integrity of these systems is in place and is obvious and easy to check. And thirdly, we have TrueLeaf that we're going to help them finish their. TrueLeaf is not in operation 3 months of the year. So March is a bad month for them because they're just beginning to reboot their system. And so they are just now coming into full gear and have not completed the survey yet, but have invited us to tour the facility. So I think with the tour of the facility, I can get our operator, Cypress Water, to work directly with their operator, and we can get the survey completed. And what that's going to do is it's really going to help us demonstrate to Hollister that we are truly now only receiving domestic wastewater. The domestic wastewater from our city is way better than it was when we tested the industrial users last July. It was frightening last July, and now it all seems to be falling in place. So our attention and management of these contracts has really improved, and so has the water quality. So as Cypress Water points out, we're almost in line on a month-to-month basis with our total dissolved solids, but we will always have an issue with sodium and chloride. So that's the need for the fresh water, but that puts that need on a back burner, but not for long. We have the costs of the fresh water now identified. We had a meeting Monday to do that. And we have a new schedule, February 17th, that I think I've shared with the city council that shows that we would work on a rate study. And also at the same time, as the council knows, I've been applying to our state assembly member and senator requesting budget requests through their offices to the state budget. I missed the state of the budget today, so I'll have to catch that on YouTube tonight from Gavin Newsom, our governor. But we're looking at every way we can to fund these projects, and an encouraging phone call from the EPA today, who was on the phone with the state water revolving loan project. The Clean Water Act folks have been working on our application for funding. They have a project number identified for us. We are considered a high priority of theirs. So I need to do some follow-up with them in the morning. So our funding plans are moving forward, but until we get a rate study done and propose a rate increase, we won't know that the San Benito County Water District project is feasible. And working with Bartle Wells, they're under contract with the city now to start the water study. It should happen quickly, and they're optimistic they can get it done by June 30th. So the new schedule then restarts the design of this project July 1 and has it being completed around October 2024. And they penciled in Christmas, December 25th, 2024. And that has been acceptable to Hollister. And so now we're just working to iron out the details and get the USDA application back started up again so we can complete our financial plan. So again, a lot of different moving pieces, and they are starting to come together. 2 encouraging calls today that I can't wait to share with the council. They are somewhat confidential, so I'll share them in closed session with you Tuesday. If not sooner, feel free to give me a call. Maybe not tonight, but happy to talk with you as we put our agenda together for the 15th, so we can have some meaningful conversations. We get everyone on the same page. If the mayor and Councilmember Freeman would like, we can meet with the water committee Friday afternoon or Monday. That would be great, and I can bring you both up to speed at the same time. That would be helpful. So with that, that's the status of our water, and we're making great progress. The EPA has been an advocate for us, so we're so fortunate. And I think things are moving forward. There you go.
Well done. Thank you very much. Questions, comments, concerns? Councilmember Edge.
Dawn, thank you very much for the update. I don't have any questions really. I just appreciate all the work that you're doing with this, and it's nice to know that our results are getting better, and what we're going to be sending to Hollister is going to be stuff that isn't going to come back and bite us in the bud. So anyway, thank you.
You're welcome, Mary. We'll have that MOU to the council on the 15th, so you guys can see it. By the end of the week, you'll have it in your hands.
Very good. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mary. Vice Mayor Flores.
First of all, thank you, Don, for all the information. And yeah, we really needed this meeting. It's taken quite a while just to get all the information out. I'd also like to personally welcome Yvonne. I like that face and that smile. Thank you so much. Welcome to our little village. Hopefully you'll enjoy it as much as we do.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Friels.
Strong work, Don. Thank you. Thanks for all that work. Thank God for those storms we got in January. That kind of flushed out our aquifers and made our water a little bit better. So that's what timing, perfect time. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Freeman.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Don, for the great presentation. I just want to say I'm not against anything, but traditional industrial water treatment says you always start with the source. So that's what I'm trying to do. The bureaucracies are different and they work at different speeds. And so we're kind of tied to the county water district and they're going much slower than we are. So that's why we're not doing it first. Thank you, though.
Thank you very much. The one thing that you didn't hit upon was the very end, the microbe working to the microbe nitrate removal plant, and we're working to amend the drinking water permit to blend well 6.
Yes, that's been going on since late November, December, And we should be ready to, and we are negotiating right now with the water board on what that blending permit would look like. So we could bring it on.
That's a negotiation.
Apparently. That's why I hired an engineer. I don't know.
Yeah. Nice. I'm super excited. So that will that be sized big enough to take on the full capacity?
Well, it's going to stay at 50 gallons per minute, but that's enough to run the well 6 more frequently than we do now. So it gives
Okay.
us that third leg on the stool in case we need it, in case well 5 goes down and well 1 runs dry. So it still gives us that sense of security and resiliency. And it's interesting to consider what 35% of our well system looks like and how often we need to run any of those 3 wells. So we've been going through that study with Tony Akel. So we look at significant savings in our operations once we get the pipeline connected. So we'll need it less.
Very nice. Very nice. Awesome. Thank you very much for all of that. Does this conclude your?
Yes.
7C stormwater, you touched on it.
Oh, just the work we're doing around Rancho Vista.
Yeah.
I didn't have a slide for that, but I think it's clear that system needs to be cleaned out and did not operate sufficiently. So we're on record, and our city engineers following up with them. They had a meeting about it today. We also had a meeting about the roundabout at Meritage today and some issues going on with this design. So I'll update you more detail with that by Friday and if necessary on the 15th.
Okay, awesome. Thank you very much. Thank you.
We're in transition, Mayor. We had 2 city engineers for a couple of weeks and that didn't work for me. Now we just have 1 city engineer that I can hold accountable so I can get
Nice.
the.
Very good. Very good. Okay. Thank you very much for all of that. Comments? Anything else from City Council? Council Member Edge?
I just have a request. I will not be around Friday, Thursday evening or Friday. And I would like for somebody to drop my packet off for me because I want to be able to read up on my packet over the weekend for our meeting on Tuesday. So if somebody can please drop it off, I would.
No problem, council member.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Mary. We'll get that to
Oh,
you.
and also welcome, Yvonne. Thank you for, welcome to our little community.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Vice Mayor Flores.
No comments. Good
Thank you.
meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Council Member Friels.
Yep, a couple of questions and a comment. Let's see, for Dawn, have we heard anything from the clampers about the fire bell? I know that they had a plan together on how to resto it, and I know that now that things are lightening up as far as COVID, they would love to probably get to work on it, maybe find a location to put it. Have we?
I did get a call from former Commissioner John Hopper on behalf of the clampers. And I returned the call and thank you for bringing it up. I don't recall that we've been trading phone calls. So I need to follow up with them. I think the ball is in their court, but I'll follow up with them, council member.
Okay, cool. And then on Dawn again, at the ballpark bus stop, do we get any funding from county transit for that? Do we get any help with that bus stop?
Not that I'm aware of. Not that I'm aware of.
Because it's, the windows and stuff are starting to get busted up and they just kind of paste their schedules and flyers and stuff anywhere they want. Maybe we should, I was just thinking, it looks a little tacky sometimes. And somebody, it looks like they've used the windows as, target practice with slingshots or something. So it's getting a little beat up.
Thank you for bringing that to my attention. I can work with Mary Cog on that.
That'd be awesome. And then I brought up a couple meetings ago about council comments, maybe being at the first, just throw it out there, a kind of closer to the beginning of the meeting, maybe we can have a discussion about that. One of these days when our agenda isn't so massive. It just seems like, a lot of us have things to put out there, and, we had 18 people attending tonight and probably none left right now. Well, there's still some people there. So, just little things, to bring up, like the VFW flea market and, any fundraisers for the Girl Scouts or anything like that. It may fall on deaf ears, I think, if we throw it out at 10 o'clock at night. That's just my request. And that is it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Freeman?
Thank you. I'd like to join the other people in welcoming Yvonne to our little group, and I really have no further comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yvonne,
Yes.
I'm gonna join the rest of the gang. Thank you very much for coming and helping us out. We appreciate it. Looking forward to seeing you a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you. City manager, finals?
No, I've already said thank you to Yvonne.
Thank you very much. Attorney Bob Rathie, welcome, and any final comments?
Thank you, Mayor. I sure appreciate it. This was couldn't almost have come up with a meeting that was more comprehensive and letting me know what's going on in the city. It's certainly a lot. And
Yeah.
I also look forward to working with Yvonne. So I want to thank the council. I'm honored by the confidence that the council has placed in me by appointing me city attorney. I believe that you do need to administer the oath to me so that I can officially take the reins here. If you want to do that this evening, that would be appropriate. I sent around an email this morning. I don't know if you.
Oh, yeah, I didn't see that.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't send it. I sent it, I think, did I copy?
To Trish, maybe?
Yeah.
Oh,
I did send it to the mayor and Dawn. But
okay.
Right, I do remember seeing it, Bob. I didn't realize that was tonight. I thought you were intending the 15th on that.
we could do it on the 15th, I think. If the council's amenable to that, I'm okay with doing it on the 15th.
Okay, I'd be better prepared. Thank
Very
you.
well, and I assure you all, I will continue to serve between now and the 15th in strict compliance with the words of that oath.
Okay.
Thank you very much. We appreciate that. Thank you.
And I'm committed to working with Dawn. I think you've got a great team here. And you realize the goals and visions for the city. So I really look forward to it. And I thank you all. Look forward to meeting those challenges, to meeting you all personally at City Hall.
All righty.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So
Motion
moved.
to adjourn.
Hey, Dios mío. Vice Mayor Flores, do I have a second?
Yes.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, so Mary and Cesar, may I have a roll call, please?
Sure thing. Let's see. Mayor Jordan,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Flores,
Yes.
Councilmember Edge,
Yes.
Councilmember Friels,
Yes.
and Councilmember Freeman.
Yes.
5-0.
Thank you very much. Have a safe evening, everyone. Have a good night. Thank you all for.
Good night,
coming back.
everybody.
Brian, I'll see you tomorrow, Brian. Oh, he hung up.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye. Good night.
Brian, too.
Brian was in a hurry to leave.